So we just finished book 5 of the Odyssey, in which Calypso finally let Odysseus off of her island, and at the end of the book, he washed up and fell asleep on the island of Scheria. And he actually spends quite a bit of time on Scheria in the context of the book, simply telling the story of where all he's been. And I'm going to summarize books 6, 7, and 8 for you to get to the really good storytelling parts of the Odyssey. So after he's washed up on Scheria, Athena goes into town and plants thoughts in Princess Nausicaa's head, tells her that, oh my gosh, you need to do your laundry. You really, really should go down and do your laundry. So she gets all of her maids to go down to the water and wash clothes, and they begin playing a game, kicking a ball together. And to kind of give you some context here, like she is a beautiful nubile young princess. She is ready to be married, ready to find a husband, and marriage is on her mind. So we just kind of have this motif of a young virgin coming to terms with soon being a newlywed wife and all the responsibilities that come with this. So Athena makes it so that this girl finds Odysseus, and Odysseus is washed up from the ocean, and he's naked. And it's actually a funny little scene where he is hiding in the bush naked and doesn't know what to do, because there is a traditional gesture that people begging for help do. And that gesture involves getting down on your knees and wrapping your arms around the other person's knees. It's kneeling in supplication. And he's like, thinking to myself, I can't walk up to this young princess stark naked and grab her around the knees. So he totally plays it cool. He comes out with nothing but a branch covering his man parts and totally plays it cool. Like, hey, princess, can you help me? And so she gives him clothes, and he goes behind the brush in order to change. And when he comes out, Athena makes him look totally hot, like almost like increases his size and makes his hair glow, and he's just looking so good. And the princess of this marrying age like actually feels drawn to him. It's almost they're kind of playing with this motif of sexual awakening. And throughout all this, it's like, do we need more reasons to know that Odysseus is hot and chicks dig him? His wife is back home waiting for him to come home. He made love to Calypso, who wanted him so bad she held him captive for 7 years. And here we have a young princess who's like, ooh, he's so hot. But she's not dumb. She's very aware of keeping her reputation. She wants to help him. And instead of letting him ride in her cart to go back to the palace where he can officially ask for assistance from her father and mother, the king and queen, she gives him directions and tells him to follow, and tells him who to speak to in order to get to the palace, because she knows that if she is seen with him, that people in the town will talk. So that itself is book 6. Book 7 is Phaeacia's halls and gardens. So that takes us from the sea's edge into Phaeacia, and I'm probably saying that wrong. And if you're listening, mispronouncing stuff is my thing. This land is a seafaring people. They're known for helping strangers. It's their way of pleasing Zeus, because Zeus is the patron god of wanderers and strangers. Athena helps Odysseus by using a fog to keep other people from stopping him along the way, so he has a straight shot into getting there. And the fog follows him into the palace, and he goes straight to Queen Arite's feet, Nausicaa's mother, because Nausicaa actually told him, if you really want help, you need to go straight to my mom. My mom is the one that everyone really listens to, and she will be the one to beg your favor and give you safe passage home. So this fog is enveloped around him, and he comes into the kneeling, suppliant gesture of grabbing her around her knees, and the fog parts, and everybody's so freaked out that they think that he's a god. And he's like, nope, just a dude trying to get home. They recognize the clothes that he is wearing, and says like, hey, wait a minute, my daughter was washing those clothes earlier. But he's immediately speaking very kindly of the princess and said, "Your princess helped a wayward stranger." And he gives them the rundown of how he was just held captive at Calypso's island and washed up. They are so immediately taken by him that they offer her hand in marriage right then and there. And here's the funny part, they don't even know his name. Like, he hasn't introduced himself as, "Hi, I'm King Odysseus from Ithaca. I've been trying to get home from the Trojan War." Okay, thanks. It's this concept of Xenia that, like, it's in this culture, it's almost that it would be rude to directly ask someone their name, which is totally weird to us. But they are so taken by him, like, "Oh wow, we can tell you're an awesome dude. Would you like to marry our daughter?" And he's like, "No, but thanks." So they feed him and they let him sleep. Book 8 is a much more active chapter in the epic here. A day for songs and contest. Athena makes sure that there's a really big crowd at Alcinous' hall because she wants people to see Odysseus in action. One of the first things that King Alcinous does to kind of like have a party to greet our guest and show off the splendor of his palace is that he has his bard sing. And one of the songs that he sings is actually a fight during the events of Troy between Achilles and Odysseus cries during this song. And the king doesn't say anything, and the king doesn't ask him, like, "Why are you crying?" So he decides then to have games for entertainment. And so all the strapping young men of Phaeacia come out to do the games, and they have these like hilarious sea-sounding names, like, oh man, let me see if I can get my book here. I'm really mad at myself. Broadsea. Oh yeah, here we go. Sorry. Topsail, riptide, row hard, seaman, sturman, surf at the beach, stroke oar, breaker, bowsprit, racing the wind, swing aboard, Seagrit, the son of great fleet. I mean, and Broadsea. I mean, they have the most oceanic names ever. So these games, they decide to like not like let's play hopscotch, but actually like physical games of strength and athletic agility. And in a way that their games and the taunts that they do to Odysseus kind of parallel the behavior of the suitors in Telemachus, that they are othering Odysseus, that they are making him feel outside of what is there. And Odysseus keeps his cool and he ignores their taunts at first until he is taunted by one of them who says, like, "Well, you're probably just sitting there on the side because you don't actually have any athletic skill." And that's when Odysseus is like, "Nope, gonna show you what I'm made of." So he throws a discus and he throws it farther than anyone who possibly could. And he then asks for a spear. He actually gets angry. Let me see here. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Should have been a good teacher and had my book here. Okay. He challenges all of them, and he says, "Well, I know how to handle a fine polished bow, the first to hit my man in a mass of enemies, even with rows of comrades pressing near me, taking aims with their shafts to hit our targets." He said, "As for spears, I can fling a spear as the next man wings an arrow." So he's telling them, like, "You want to see more? I'll show you more. Give me a bow and arrow." Remember this, the bow and arrow is Odysseus's weapon. It is what he is very, very good at. And he says he's so good at it that he can throw a full spear. And these spears would be like 8 feet long, if not more, that he can throw a spear like an arrow as well. And so King Alcinous decides to stop the games, like, okay, well, that's enough of that, and he decides to have the bard sing again. And this is another little moment about the bard, where a lot of people think that Homer was a blind poet. The bard here in the palace is a blind bard, and there's a lot of prose that talks about just how sweet and wonderful the blind bard is, and oh man, don't we like it. So the bard sings this whole song that is a really nice side narrative about the affair between Ares and Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the wife of Hephaestus and would cheat on him with Ares. This is a nice little parallel to the cheating of Clytemnestra and Agamemnon on Aegisthus. It's also a dark little foreshadowing, like, ooh, what's Penelope gonna do? Is Penelope gonna cheat on her husband by picking a suitor? So we have that parallel there of unfaithful wives and warning of unfaithful wives. And then later the bard sings of the Trojan horse, and that was Odysseus's idea, and he's just openly just racked with sobs in there. And that's when finally someone says, why don't you actually tell us who you are? Alcinous finally says there, He says, ever since our meal began and the stirring bard launched his song, our guest has never paused in his tears and throbbing sorrow. Clearly, grief has overpowered his heart. Skipping some lines here. Come, tell us your name. They call you there at home. So at this point, we've gone books 6, 7, and 8. We've gone a whole day, and they still don't even know his name. So finally, we're going to get to the part. Come, my friend, tell us your own story now, and tell it truly. Where have your rovings forced you? What lands of men have you seen? What sturdy towns? What men themselves? Who were wild, savage, lawless? Who were friendly to strangers? God-fearing men. Tell me, why do you weep and grieve so sorely when you hear the fate of the Argives and hear the fall of Troy? So this is going to take us into Book 9 in the One-Eyed Giant's Cave, in which Odysseus is going to tell of all the adventures of where he's been. Books 9, 10, 11, and 12 are entirely Odysseus's narrative in Alcinous' hall, telling them what transpired between Troy and then ending up on Calypso's island. So I hope you guys like this summary, and I really hope you like Book 9. It is one of the most famous. It is one of the most enjoyable. If you've read the Percy Jackson books, you should be pretty familiar with what happens in there because it's paralleled in one of the Percy Jackson books with Grover. So thanks for listening.